Well, howdy, the internet. It's me. It's Gibby, the director of Everyman, and welcome to the making of Everyman, the Talkback. Hopefully, everybody can hear me and can see me. Let me get my stuff. I'm flying solo right now. I know that Benny Benameda is going to join me in a second to help drive this ship. Otherwise, it's just me, and God knows that is a means for a disaster. But I will say that my good friend Patrick Hughes will be joining us today to talk about the show. So if you've seen the show and you have some questions, Patrick and Benny and I are all here to answer those questions, and we'll talk a little bit about the way we went into producing this and its evolution from a 15th century morality play to whatever it is that we turned it into. Howdy, Joey B. down in Maryland. How are you, my friend? It's good to see you, sir. So yeah, let's while we're gathering a crowd here, why don't we? I'll play a little bit of just a little teaser, a little taste of Everyman, if I can find it. Here it is. This is kind of what we're talking about here.
Sup, humanoids? Sup, humanoids? Sup, humanoids? It's E-Man. I'm just like you. I'm just like you. I'm just like you. Man? Eh? Just go out there and live your damn life! Woo! Just live your damn life! It's fine, just go out there and live your damn life!
Hello?
Demon, you're dead.
Well, Death, he hath arriven. And if you've watched Everyman, you'll notice that Death rides a pale Toyota Camry, I think. I don't know. We'll have to check in with Patrick Hughes when he checks in with us and tells us a little bit about that. And maybe we'll have some surprise guests. Who knows? Again, welcome to the show. If you're just joining us, this is the making of Everyman, the Talkback. I'm Chris Gibson, directed the piece. I'm the production manager here at Open Stage. And if you haven't seen Everyman yet, you can go watch it for free. It'll be on, we're playing it tonight at 8 p.m. on the Facebook and the YouTubes. You go to openstagehbg.com and you'll get all the information about it. You can watch it for free. Thanks to the donations of our monthly contributing circle called the Inner Circle. These are the folks that have committed to making a monthly contribution of various sizes, and that has allowed us to present this entire season, our 35th season, completely for free or by a donation only or sliding scale type basis, rather than having to charge a ticket fee for these shows. We're able to make it accessible to anybody who wants to watch. And that, and when I say we, is really thanks to the Inner Circle. And we'll talk more about the Inner Circle as the show goes on. See, this is why I shouldn't be in charge. Rachel is normally always, pushing the buttons. And today it's just me. So hopefully everything will go well. Let's invite my buddy Patrick Hughes to the show.
Hey, Gabby.
Hey, brother, how are you?
Doing all right.
So, Patrick, have you had a chance to watch the show?
I have, yes. I was on pins and needles to see how it was going to turn out, and it's always exciting to see what the final cut is going to be. So Very exciting.
Yeah, you were there really from the beginning. I think you're the first person that I contacted when we decided to do this. I think I actually volunteered you to write it, is what happened.
That's pretty accurate. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so initially when we were first talking about what could we do during the pandemic in terms of free open source material that still had oomph to today, I think one of us had this idea of like, well, it's as relevant now. This idea of what happens when death comes a calling and what we all go through, and it's always ripe to be relooked at, no matter what the zeitgeist might be. And so I initially had thought in terms of coronavirus, but I think we made it less specific as it evolved.
Well, and did it evolve, didn't it?
Oh, it certainly did. There were so many iterations. It was almost like, oh, okay, let me abandon everything that I've been working on and focus on this one. And I think we did that quite a few times as it transitioned to what it became.
The iteration of the week with this show, because we went with so many different directions. You came up with a first draft of an actual new script, rather sort of a modern adaptation of the 15th century story, which is what we had originally talked about. And I think when you came, by the time you came back to me with that, I said, okay, yeah, this is wonderful, but I think we might be going in a totally different direction. And then I think we had that conversation 4 more times.
That's right.
Exactly the same.
Yep. No, it was the week of like, hey, buddy, gotta talk to you about something. We've been some evolution on Everyman. Want to keep you up to speed. I'm like, okay, great. And they're like, okay, let's do it. And so it is it's interesting to try to work with the ever changing possibilities of creativity.
Indeed, and we'll talk more about that. But I do want to welcome to the show E-Man themselves. Benny Benameda has decided to grace us with their presence, and I forgot you're a producer.
I was about to say I could have popped myself in at any time, but my computer decided now was the time.
Oh, that's good. That's great. Well, we're glad to have you here. I promised the rest of the cast that if they joined us on the show, we wouldn't make fun of them. So that means everybody else is fair game. So we can totally destroy Dave Richwine, which I was probably have done anyway. I think yeah, he sent a thing. Sorry, won't make this talk back. Well, thanks for nothing, Dave Richwine. Man, at least he's consistent. But no, he was great. Benny, we're just sort of to catch up. We showed the trailer, and then Patrick and I were talking about the evolution of this project, and you were part of a later iteration. You were not there for. Well, I mean, we always knew you were going to be in the show.
Yeah,
but you were originally meant to play Death, right?
I was. So in the first iteration and concept, I was actually to play Death because of the character that I play in My Talented Friends Live, Chad, who is famously this delivery driver. And we thought, oh, what better way to showcase Death than showing up at your doorstep as a delivery person?
Yeah.
But then as it grew, I ended up taking over the role of E-Man. And it was a wild transition, a wild, terrifying transition.
Yeah, it was. And it's interesting because, actually, one of the earliest things that we did plan on doing was we knew we wanted to tie Everyman into MTFL in some way. And we thought we'd make it into a comedy. We did know that. And then it just went all these weird directions in between. And I think the first major change was that we decided, because we didn't really know who was going to play Everyman. And, the idea of me playing it was no good. And because I'm directing the thing. And so we had just had Aiden Roth on the show on MTFL. And he presented that character Noxious, or his persona Noxious, and he had a piece. It was more of a spoken word piece where he's sitting under a tree, and it was very poetic. And I was like, oh my god, that's it. Everyman is this sort of it's not flawed character, but the idea that all of us are flawed in some way, you know what I mean? And I just thought, oh, because that was an opportunity, because Aiden is such a talented hip hop artist. It was an opportunity to maybe bring the verse back, because Patrick, in your first draft, you abandoned verse pretty much altogether. Isn't that right?
Yeah, no, I was just focusing on contemporary spoken, lines. Yeah, no verse.
The original piece is all verse, and it's very, very rhymey and very rhythmic, and it's not particularly, it's not Shakespeare. It does rhyme, but it's very, very, very wordy and repetitive, and the structure is basically that every man is visited by death and then goes to get some people to go with him, and every time he goes into a scene, he tells you what he's about to do, and then he does the scene, then he comes out and tells you what he just did and what he's going to do next. And so Everyman sort of has this function of sort of recapping and narrating, and everything happens to him and or to them. And we ended up sort of maintaining that structure, but abandoning the verse and then bringing the verse back, because we thought, well, we'll have Aiden to sort of score an entire hip hop rap for the time, which is a massive amount of work with no time at all. And Aiden was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then a week later, he's like, wait, I can't. This is crazy. We don't have enough time to do this. And I was like, you are right. It's just too much work. It was a good idea if we had a year to conceive it, but we haven't had any time to conceive any of these things, right? This year we've been flying by the seat of our pants, and knitting the parachute as we've jumped out the window, as it were, with this whole season of online programming. So, and this Everyman was that in a nutshell, in a sort of microcosm. And so we said, well, hey, what about Benny? We'll make Benny Everyman, and we'll make Patrick Death, and that just really clicked, because then it really brought everything back, started bringing it closer and closer to MTFL. And then I had this really great conversation with Liz Curtis. We were having lunch one day, and she said, all of Act 2 should just be, and I think, Patrick, you had mentioned this too, that all of Act 2 could be in a sort of a mocking of MTFL itself. But it was Liz that came up with the idea of calling it The Reckoning with a W. And then we started talking a little bit about how we could specifically make it reflective of MTFL. And then I think the day that we went in to shoot it, we were like, okay, no, let's just go all in and just make it completely 100% stolen from cloth from ourselves. Because the infrastructure was already there. We already had it, right? We had the StreamYard set up. We had all the banners. We just had to change some of the text and get Nick to play the theme song in a minor key, and Stacy to record a new track, which they did immediately. And then it came back full circle to what we had originally intended, which was a comedy that was self-referential and self-deprecating, but also we strove to bring in some positive mental health. And Patrick, you and Liz put a lot of work into that. You particularly as a licensed counselor. Can you talk a little bit about how
Yeah,
Benny, I know,
sure.
worked on that?
Yeah, no. So, Benny and I were talking when I initial idea of the script, the thing that I was going to try to, the way that it was sort of pieced together was I wanted to abandon the idea of like this horrible sort of scarring, flagellation, misery, scouring that was in the original work, and move to something that maybe felt a little bit more about the ideas of how we think things piece together. And I'd spoken a little bit about the message of dying, like there's these stories that exist everywhere that tell us how to live well, and that it sort of ties together in that way. And as we sort of evolved forward, we got away from that. But I think the way that we sort of pieced it together, that it was really Everyman's experience where he lived well with the kids that they were on the camp, which was great to use that footage from Open Stage. But Benny and I had this great conversation about, okay, if we're looking at sort of healthy situations, what would this look like? How would it play out? And it just ended up sort of fitting together that way. And we looked at each of the different stories that the other what Goodskin and fellowship might be sharing and finding a way of transforming that to be, from their perspective, what did they think was healthy, what did Everyman need to hear, and what was the real message of the piece, and tying that all together into that kind of journey felt like a way of under supporting and carrying up those ideas of sort of healthy choice and healthy living. So I think we just tried to piece it together that way, because we're not going off the Judeo-Christian sort of good and bad, faith in God as being the most healthy thing necessarily. They were looking for, what does it mean to die well? What does it mean to live well? What does it have meaning in one's life? And that's sort of how we piece that together.
And then Benny, you had even a sort of a more Herculean task in that I basically I bet we lost Benny. Oh well, I was about to talk.
I'm right here.
Yeah,
I don't know where I went.
Oh well, you can still hear us.
I'm here.
But I don't know if I tasked you with it or burdened you with it, but we talked about specifically the part of the script where Everyman goes to confession and then goes to essentially does a scourge on themselves, and so I guess it's penitence, and then begs for forgiveness to the Almighty and blah blah blah. And we were like, well, we're not going to do that. So, but let's what would E-Man, how would E-Man handle this? And then I rather than have it written for you or dictate it to you, I felt like it would be, and I was right. I thought that it would be more personal and more effective if you were to conceive that yourself. And I knew you were capable. And so I tasked you with that. I tasked the Warners with taking the idea of redemption, which is sort of that last in the original text. It's where E-Man comes in contact with knowledge and his seven senses and strength and all these other characters that are like, yeah, we get it. Okay. It all comes down to they are being redeemed and they are being forgiven. And I tasked Nick and Stacy with coming up with a big Warner's, or in this case, Warner's song that would do that. And Nick, I mean, just knocked it out of the park. Both of them did with the writing and the performance. But talk, Benny, a little bit about the process that you went through to create Memento Vitae.
Sure. So when you tasked me with going about trying to figure out how E-Man would go through this confession process in a 21st century lens, I started with the text itself. I looked at verse, I looked at what that meant, and then grew it from there. The phrase memento vitae is actually a play off of something that is also an internet phenomenon. I tried to keep it in the same vein of a lot of the motivational YouTube videos that a lot of people of my generation grew up just watching and consuming and being like, this is how we live. But Memento Vitae is a play on a channel called Unis Annus, which was a channel that was literally about seizing the moment and being present. The whole premise of the channel was they would put out a video every single day for a year. And at the end of the year, when the clock hit 0, they would delete the channel. And their catchphrase was Memento Mori. So instead of remembering death, I decided remembering life was a better way of going about it. It helped tie in the clips with the Osh kids, which are not staged whatsoever. All of that is 110% exactly what was happening in the room at the time, which I think is exciting and fun. And it was awesome to be able to relive those memories myself as I was creating the video. But then allowing E-Man to recognize that the actions that they did, even in the horrible content that they created. I mean, if any of you actually have seen E-Man's TikTok page,
they're not that bad.
I mean, it's questionable. The pranks that I pulled on Liz Curtis are just horrible. They're entry level pranking, to say the least.
You know
But
what? That's a great.
it all touched the heart, and so I think that's how, when I went into Memento Vitae, I really went in with some of the verse work that was already in the Summoning of Everyman and tied that into what Everyman needed to say at that time. It was a lot of fun, a lot of editing, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, you did a great job with it, and it really it just Act Two. You know, we set this thing up. Actually, I was very happy the way that we had a nice mix of comedy and sort of pathos throughout the entire piece. But Act Two really does start to grab you by the heart a little bit, and it starts with Memento Vitae. Hey, Benny, can I ask you to do a producer thing for me?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to jump on and see if you can upload some of those TikTok pranks that they're in the folder, in the E-Man folder? You know what I mean? Like,
I can
maybe
totally do that while
yeah,
we're sitting
some of
here.
the TikTok pranks. See if you can get some of the our guest TikTokers, because I want to talk about our title sequence. That they're all in that same file. I just didn't have time to load them up, or actually, I didn't think about this far enough advance, which is totally classic.
That's very, but yeah, I can totally do that.
Yeah, but and then Patrick and I'll talk about some other stuff and see if we can get some questions from the internet. Wait a minute. Oh, wait, you didn't know, Rita? You didn't know that E-Man really has a TikTok? Well, of course, E-Man has a TikTok.
Yeah, if
You can
you
follow them.
You can follow on TikTok, and actually, a lot of the TikToks that you see in the production itself are on TikTok itself. That's how I got to record them. And if you go to the E-Man 2021 on TikTok, you will find all the TikToks, including some ones that you don't get to see in Everyman. It was a lot of fun. You also will get to see the linear progression until Everyman or E-Man finally disappears. None of the TikToks that actually happen inside of the show itself, like me talking to all the humanoids about me being dead, they're not there. There is nothing after E-Man dies.
Right.
So
yes.
it was a lot of fun to curate.
Oh man, and I think TikTok responded with just a ridiculous wave of just completely not paying attention to us at all.
Yeah, not paying attention. I did, however, I did have one person. One of the TikToks that we don't use in this, in our cut, is one where I'm gaming by myself. And I was about not having someone to play video games with, and someone on TikTok was like, "Oh, what do you play? Like, I'll play with you."
Oh, see,
And
that's
I'm
why
like, this is adorable, but you have no idea that I'm technically supposed to die in a few days.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we were very Blair Witch about this thing, and sort of having a real life component of Everyman to support the narrative. Benny, just chase down those videos, and
Heck
Patrick
yeah.
and I will wrap a little bit.
I will put
And if you
myself
have
away then.
yeah, not you. I'm talking to the internet, Benny. If you have questions, please drop them in the comment section below. And if you want to watch Everyman, you can see it on YouTube and Facebook. Tonight it'll be on at 8 p.m. and you can watch it for free. Yeah, Patrick, what were you gonna say?
I've got a question for you, Gibby. This was very much, you do a Seat of the Pants show with My Talented Friends Live, and
I don't know what you mean. It's very well played.
The creation of this play was also something that was created, piecemeal as we went along. In retrospect, now that you've seen it, edited it, worked on it, is there anything that felt like your favorite piece of discovery, or is there something that you feel like was a missed opportunity? Either of those questions.
I have to say, not to pat myself on the back or pat us on the back, but I was actually pretty damn happy with it. I think that yes, it was. We were definitely assembling the plane as we're trying to take off. You know what I mean? But I have to admit, I mean, like, it was. I had a general concept of what I wanted the show to be, and as we've talked about, it was a fluid concept. It evolved rather quickly and frequently, and maybe more than we wanted it to at first. But we adapted with it, and by the time it came together, and I mean the final pieces came together the days before we launched it last week or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we're still getting pieces together and adding little bits. And
I sent you a video the night of the final edit for you to add in.
That's right, and we got it in there. It ended up being great. And I thought that, you know, I thought that the thing I was really happy about was, to me, I felt like we really did manage to signal the time that we live in, and to reflect that time, and to reflect the idea of living in the world of screens, um, and also I think at a time where self-parody is sort of, you know, I just finished watching WandaVision, and that whole sort of meta look at itself, and using TV tropes and that sort of thing. I felt like we were good. We were able to use sort of different tropes of the world that we live in right now, from TikTok to Facebook to Zoom, and then ultimately the idea of online streaming content in general. I thought we did a pretty good job of fusing all that in. And even more importantly, we still managed to be funny, and it still managed to be touching. And so I don't know. I think Circles is probably the thing that I'm most blown away by, but that's just Nick Werner, right? I mean, everything Nick Werner does is mind blowing and beautiful and great. And Stacy and he together came up with this piece that was just, I mean, it's never not in my head. It's just such a beautiful song, and have an original song created for this piece, in addition to the score work that Nick did. But that song just, you know, it did what we asked him to do, which was to serve as the climax of the piece, with Stacy's soaring voice, with images of redemption and forgiveness. And then, you know, right at the last minute, I got that footage of Good Deeds, Ty the Tiger, Anthony, the MTFL Tiger, in his you know, debut role, and I'm sure he's going to be up for awards.
So I really liked it too, because it involved a bunch of the lines from Desperado by Max Errolman, which was part of the original script as well. And I felt like that was that fit right into that idea of you know, these messages that we receive, and the ways that we can to live well. And you know, I think it fit very well into Iman's evolution. So I was very pleased with that song as well. Yeah, you have a question here from Joe.
I do, and this is one I think that Patrick, you want to take a swipe at the answer for this?
I don't know. Your ratio is probably maybe about 7% scripted. That's a pretty generous percent, I think. I mean, the thing is that I think we talked about where we wanted and where our destination was going to be, but the way that Gibby brought these things to life is he just had people repeat doing this over and over again until it felt like it was done. So it didn't have a lot of edits in terms of what in Act One, how that was going on, and then we worked through. You know, we're used to doing My Talented Friends live with a very little script, and so being, you know, I asked for a few things to be in my line of sight so I can refer to them, but most everything was just sort of you come up off the top of our head when we were actually doing the reckoning part. So it was very much supposed to feel like it was not scripted, and we thought the best way of getting there was not to script it, and
it worked. Yeah. Well, and now I will say I didn't get a chance to do as much backstory work with you as Death as I did with Dave Richwine and Liz Curtis and Stacy Warner, where, you know, their scenes were improvised and sort of re-improvised and whittled down. Some of them actually, the take that's in the final edit is Stacy and Benny's first take, so I didn't change it at all. But the work that we did was in advance, and we did extensive conversations about who the characters were structurally in the play, And then I tasked the actors with finding a person in their life that they felt, somebody who they really knew, that they could see fulfilling that function, and then sort of stepping into that character, or stepping into that person, almost like to embody that person as a sort of pre-built character. Or if you're playing D&D, you know what I mean? Like it's already built for you. Now just step in and play it, and you know it very well because it's a person from your life. And you don't ever tell the person, it's not about that. It's not even about really doing an impression of them. It's just a way for the actors to separate themselves from themselves, but still be grounded in reality of a real person. And then we took the original source material, and I tasked each one of them to familiarize themselves, not memorize it, but familiarize themselves with those scenes in the original text. And then we took the story, the stories that you had added on in your script, and I said, this is your script itself, and the particularly the stories that you added for each one of them that were from cross cultures. And I said to the actors, please internalize these stories, find a way to tell them so that they don't necessarily come across as simply a story, but make it part of your character's world. And so with all of that work in advance, by the time we came to the day of shooting, where we were shooting improvisational scenes, everybody was pretty steeped in what they had to achieve, who they were, and what their relationship to each other was. And I think having all of these given circumstances, it facilitated the ease of improvisation with these scenes. At least that, or we just happen to have the most talented improvisational actors that I've ever worked with, because these guys, it just rolled right out. And I thought that those scenes do come across as sort of slice of life scenes. They don't come across as, here's a script that is a setup and a punchline. It's not about that. There's funny stuff in it, there's touching stuff in it, but it wasn't crafted in that way. It was crafted just in a different way. Benny, I'm going to let you play some TikToks while I look at some of these comments and see if we have some questions that I can answer. You want to talk and intro some of these?
Sure, I can definitely intro some of these. So there are a lot of TikToks that we used, especially in the opening title sequence, and you'll see that they're not just me as E-Man, but they're from a variety of our other talented friends. So I've pulled a few that you don't get to see the full experience of, with some funny stories from myself in shooting, but I also have some clips from some other TikTokers as well. The first one I'm going to pull up here, though, is America's sweetheart, TJ Creedon, who we all know and love here at Open Stage as one of the hosts of TOV. He's been on our main stage, but he is also a TikToker.
Grade and Fletcher, please. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
What's a really weird thing that your body does that you're not sure anybody else's body does?
I've never met anybody else who's been able to do this.
Oh fuck it, I got buku bitches in my pocket. Oh fuck. 666, my wrist is iced up. 666, my wrist is sliced up. Hey, a little bit to me for my.
So that just shows you a little bit of the weirdness that can happen on TikTok.
Ooh, that was a spicy one.
Spicy one. But these are things like in the opening credits, you just see Floyd, who's another friend of ours, stick his tongue out to the bottom of his chin, and you're just like, oh, okay, cool. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's quite amazing. Here's a fun one. If many of you probably know already, we had a lot of snow in central Pennsylvania this past winter, and it's still happening. So E-Man had his own or their own snow day. Um, little did I know that my partner would want to get in on the action. So you're about to see the classic snowball scene that has been in the trailer. It's been in the show, but there's a part of it that you never hear. Take a listen.
Sup, humanoids? I'm just like you. Oh! Shut up!
We love some support. We love support.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful. It was real. It was
Beautiful
real.
support. We also have our good friend Sarah Scholl, who is a part of our TikTok parade. Here's her reviewing the Chromatica Oreos that just came out.
Oh, first bite. Wow. Flavor's good as fun. Reminds me of a cake batter moment, a vanilla moment, a little Dunkaroo icing moment. Love it. Very much just a vanilla flavored Oreo. We got the fun icing, the fun colored cookie, and of course, it supports Little Monster. So I'd say if you're a little monster, you need a little snack, a little sweet treat, don't hesitate. Go out and get yourself some Chromatic Oreos.
Oh, yo, wait, can I show you something?
Yeah, what's up?
Just listen. I made this.
Oh, you made this?
You ready?
Space. Let's fucking go!
And that last one there was actually a guest on My Talented Friends this past week.
The incredible Lucas of Maine, Lucas Dealey, with his roommate. That is like one of the most wholesome TikToks. You know what I mean? You just see it, and you're like, oh God, you're just such a sweet guy. You know what I mean? And so talented. But yeah, we had a bunch of folks that we knew that were active on TikTok, and I reached out to them, and they were willing to share those with us, and including one of them was Tom
Weaver.
Tom Weaver, who's so funny on TikTok, and then Sarah Scholl, and so many people contributed to the TJ Creedon, obviously, and yeah, so everybody who sent that stuff to us, because we ended up taking them and really slicing them very, very thin into our opening title credits, which of course Nick scored, and it came up with that beautiful piece, and they all came together really well. What else did you pull other video, or is that what you that?
I have a few E-Man TikToks still. We have plenty more. I actually counted how many TikTok videos we have in. We're close to like 40 TikToks, which
in the whole show, or yeah.
No, at our disposal.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So for those of you who are still new to TikTok, TikToks can range from 15 seconds to a minute. So if they are all minute-long videos, which most of E-Man's were, that's 40 minutes of content, which is longer than your standard sitcom.
Yeah, there you have it. There you
So,
have it. Check this out. Yeah.
Go ahead, give it.
He was surprised but thrilled that Anthony was also playing a part, just like Benny was. And Anthony, the MTFL Tiger, makes his triumphant debut in this. We brought him on the show. I haven't done the recap of this week's show yet. I'm going to do that as soon as we're done here. As a matter of fact, I wish we had some footage of Anthony, because he ended up being a lot to deal with. I mean, some of us got along with him better than others, but if you're curious as to the sort of off-screen persona of Anthony the MTFL Tiger, then you can go onto the YouTube. Go to the Open Stage channel on YouTube and look at this past week's My Talented Friends Live. We had Lucas of Maine. Lucas Dealey was our guest, and we had Anthony the MTFL Tiger, and then surprisingly Liz Curtis showed up on that. We weren't really planning to have her on the show, but boy, she was there, wasn't she? So yes, not what I expected after hiring him, Rita. But you know what? That seems to be the case with MTFL. It's just you get what you pay for, which we don't pay for anything.
So Benny, I'm curious, given that you sort of started using TikTok for this particular show, is there anything about the forum that you feel like you understand now, or that you think, because it does seem like it's a certain segment of the population really gets a lot from it, and I'm just curious, what you understand is like the core thing about TikTok that you didn't understand before creating your 40 minutes worth of content?
That's a really great question. Actually, before we really started this project, I was using the app throughout quarantine, just watching videos and taking in content, and then making a few videos on my own. And I really started deep diving because originally this was going to be part of my teen studio content that I would teach at the Aesthetic Theater School. And while it didn't end up going direction, it allowed me to really focus in on, like you said, what was at the core of TikTok. And what I can see from using the app and kind of trying to figure out the trending analytics and getting into the nitty-gritty is that TikTok is an app that is truly customizable to you. It has probably the strongest algorithm of any social media app that I've ever experienced in my lifetime, in the fact that it takes into account what videos you're sitting and watching and what videos you only watch milliseconds of, what videos you like. And as it goes through that, it will curate a playlist, a never-ending playlist of videos you prefer. So like, if you really enjoy cat videos and that's all you want to see, the algorithm, you don't have to set up your page to be like, okay, I only want to see cat videos. The app will do that just for you. So it is actually quite difficult to become a viral sensation on TikTok itself for that very reason. So a lot of these people creating content and creating videos on TikTok, I find, aren't going after being a viral sensation. They're not going after these large goals. They kind of just fall into place because the algorithm is set so that it is so random. Obviously, the more followers you have boosts your ratings in the algorithm, but the core of it is just a bunch of people who are passionate about talking about things they're passionate about and making videos about that. Sure, there are goofy trends and weird hashtags and really questionable food substances people are putting in their bodies that they're putting on video and then showing the world. But the app is just fun. It's enjoyable. You can learn things, you can enjoy sketch comedy, you can enjoy cooking videos. Like my For You page currently, after doing Everyman, is a little whacked up. I have to fix it a little bit. There's a lot of Call of Duty gameplay that I don't necessarily want to watch.
You don't need to.
But Everyman's For You page, that's all that it is.
That's crazy. I didn't think about that.
So it's just a lot of people having a lot of fun, and it's really exciting. Like, I didn't expect Everyman's TikTok page to blow up in every way, but oh man, it was it was fun to at least attempt it.
Yeah.
The algorithm wasn't in our favor. But
You see this question from Rita, Benny?
E-Man's catchphrases are total earworms. Were they written or improvised? That's actually really funny. When we first started this process, Gibby texted me and went, okay, it's time to start shooting TikToks. And I had some ideas of TikToks that we were going to do because E-Man's gimmick is that they do whatever is trending. So literally I would wake up and look at the trending page and see what was trending and see if there was a video that I could create based on the trending hashtags or whatever the trending type of video was. And it was Gibby who texted me, yeah, all it has to be is like intro, gimmick, yes, let's make it repeatable so we can make consistent content. And Gibby was the one that came up with sup humanoids. And I went, I love that. And I stuck with it. And that's how the jokes were set up. It was sup humanoids. I'm just like you. I too. Insert whatever it was, whether it be actually relatable or not. That's fine. Just go out there and live your damn life. That was it. And Gibby basically had written that for me in a text, and I just ran with it.
Yeah, you did.
So
Yeah, you did.
it wasn't quite improvised, but it was, oh man, it was just handed to me on a silver platter.
Yeah, but I think I wrote that to you, and I was like, but make it sound like an old guy didn't think of this. And then you were like, no, I'm just going to make it work. And you did.
Yeah, I was like, I'll just make it work. I'll just do it.
Hey, I just want to thank you guys for taking some time today to talk about the old Everyman. And Patrick, I'm going to thank you first and let you go about enjoying your day. But it's always a pleasure to work with you. It's a pleasure to work with you on My Talented Friends Live, and for years now on the Christmas Carol. A Christmas Carol that we have worked on together, and it's always just a pleasure to hang out with you and work with you. And so thank you for your for your commitment to this piece from the beginning all the way to the end, even though your role in it changed multiple times. Ultimately,
my pleasure, Gibby.
Yeah, we found that it was best to just put something over your face and then just turn you loose and let you go, and that's what we did.
A lot of people come to that conclusion in hanging out with me. So.
I kid because I love. All right, buddy. Be well. Thank you. I'm going to let you go, and then Benny and I are going to wrap this thing up. Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Bye, Patrick.
So, yes. So I think I don't know if Rita is commenting on Patrick's performance here or your catchphrases. I think she's talking about your catchphrases.
I think it's the catchphrases. I even found them annoying after a while, especially editing them, because you just hear it constantly on loop.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, hey, you know what? It was a lot of fun, and Benny, it's super fun. Always fun. We've had fun working together this entire pandemic and creating a whole season of theater. And so thank you for making this show come together the way that I had dreamed it would. And earlier Patrick asked me if I had any regrets, and Joey popped up with this one, that after every show I've directed, I've had a wish I would have thought of blank moment, not regret, just would it have worked. And I know what you mean, buddy, and I've definitely had that feeling. I will say for Everyman, I just feel like everything we literally looked around and said, what do we have to work with? Let's use this. And it ended up being the sum of its parts was greater than the individual pieces. And so I didn't walk away going, oh, if we had done, okay, there is one thing I wish I would have gotten more of, and I wish we would have had more time to get some TikToks of E-Man and She-Her collaborating. We never quite got to that. But I also think that there's a lot of the story that's told in Everyman by not telling the story. Like, you don't know how Everyman died. And you didn't see that stuff, and maybe that's self-justification. But we never talked. It was why or how you died wasn't particularly relevant. And even those TikToks that you created that sort of showed E-Man dwindling down, they didn't really make the final cut.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, Benny. Thanks. You go push some buttons, and I'm going to talk about the inner circle here, and then let the internet go back. About
Can push buttons.
Thank you.
No, I can.
So thanks, Benny, and have a great day. Thank you for being part of the Everyman Talkback. If you want to see Everyman, just jump on to Indeed. Rita, if you want to jump on to YouTube or Facebook tonight at 8 p.m. and watch Everyman, you can do that for free. Thank you. Thanks to the Inner Circle, and the Inner Circle is a group of folks that contribute to Open Stage on a monthly basis, and that level at which you contribute is up to you. But I will say that I mean, any donation at this time in a year with no revenue, this theater could definitely we'll take whatever revenue and donations we can get. But if you can join the Inner Circle, you really help to make this work that we do accessible to everybody, regardless of whether they're in a position to pay or not. And if you are really able to pony up and step up and become a producer at Open Stage, you'll really be doing the work. And here's who's doing it now: Miles Babin, Chris Baldridge and David Skirpon, William and Sharia Ben, Michael Chapeloni, Jeff and Caitlin Copus, Desiree DeSoto, Harold and Maureen Dunbar, the Freeman family, Matthew Golden, Mary Lou and Raymond Harris, Nick Hughes, Dan Diebler and Elizabeth Johnson, Dr. Craig Keel and Renee Cook, Keel Esquire, Beryl Coor and Patrick Bear, Wayne and Gloria Landon, Bill and Beverly Lair, Howard Pullman, Karen Rook, Craig Sager, Brad and Colleen Sanders, Kristen Schofield, John and Abby Tierney. That's our producers level of the Inner Circle. And without them, I guarantee you, we would not be around to do this work that we are doing. And we hope that you enjoy that work. So check it out on Facebook and YouTube. If you like it, share it, send it to somebody who might could use a laugh. And if you really like it, go on to openstagehbg.com and click the donate button, or even better, join the Inner Circle. That's it. I got to get about my Saturday. I'll be watching Everyman tonight. Join me. I hope you'll watch it too. And that's it, the internet. Have a good day. Goodbye.